Hello dear students. So today we will discuss about the ECG parameters and the estimation. This lecture is in continuation with our previous lecture in which we have seen the cardiac cycle and different parameters of ECG signal which need to be estimated, and we have started with the estimation of QRS complex. So this lecture will be the continuation of the same. We have started with a high-speed QRS detection algorithm. We have discussed in brief. Now we will have a detailed description of this algorithm. So for this we have considered an ECG signal, as you can see in the figure, and that is sampled at 200 samples per second. You can see the dotted points, basically the sampling times. The first stage in this algorithm, it involves band-pass filtering. The band-pass filter attenuates the interference signals like muscle noise, power line frequency, baseline wander, and the T-wave noise. We'll study these noises in detail when we discuss about the noise and artifacts present in the signals. But the band-pass filter basically attenuates these interference signals. We have other type of noises also, but here we are mainly focusing on these four types of noise which can be attenuated using this band pass filter. And the filtering output, it leaves the QRS signals unaffected, which mainly lie in the frequency band of 5 to 15 Hz. Now the band pass filter is designed as a recursive integer filter, that is a cascade of a low pass and a high pass filter. So we'll discuss this low pass and high pass filter in little bit more detail. As you can see in the equation number 1, it gives the transfer function of a low pass filter. So that is H means transfer function, LP here signifies low pass. It is in Z domain because we are mainly focusing on the digital filters. So that is RZ by XZ. RZ is the output response of the low pass filter, and XZ is the ECG signal we want to filter out, and that is 1 by 32 times 1 minus z raised to the power minus 6 whole square divided by 1 minus z inverse whole square. So this is the transfer function of a low pass filter. The cutoff frequency of this filter is around 11 Hz and it has a gain of 36, and the time delay is 5 samples, that is 25 milliseconds in this case. In order to avoid the saturation, we are dividing this output by 32. So this figure shows the ECG waveform after low pass filtering. The most noticeable feature of the waveform when compared with the incoming signal is the reduction in, we can say, amplitude of the QRS complex. As you can see, we have a little bit reduction in QRS amplitude. Further, any 50 Hz or 60 Hz power line frequency noise or muscle noise present would have been significantly attenuated as a consequence of this operation. You can compare the two. So this is original ECG signal and this is low pass filtered signal. So we can see the decrease in amplitude and also that attenuation of, we can say, the baseline or power line frequency in this, which is around 60 or 50 Hz. That is a power line interference. Now we'll discuss about the high pass filter. The transfer function of the high pass filter is given by the equation, as you can see. This is equation number 2. H is again for transfer function, HP is high pass. It is again in Z domain. So that is given by Z raised to power minus 16 minus 1 by 32 into 1 minus Z raised to power minus 32 divided by 1 minus Z inverse. So this is obtained by dividing the output of low pass filter by its DC gain and then subtracting from the original signal delayed by 16 T units, as you can see in this figure. So we are using this, a low pass filter, and we are dividing that by 1 by 32, means 1 by 32 we are doing, dividing by 32, and then we are subtracting that by the original signal, or we can say low pass signal delayed by 16 time units. So this is the high pass filter. The pass band of this is from 5 to 100 Hertz and its gain is unity and the delay is 80 milliseconds. So the ECG waveform after passing through the high pass filter, you can see now this is a band pass filtered ECG signal. So you can observe the considerable attenuation of the T wave due to high pass filtering and the enhancement in amplitude of the Q and S waves. The high pass filter signal Yn is then differentiated to obtain information mainly of the QRS waves. The transfer function of the differentiator is given as in equation 3, that is HDIFF, that is for differentiation. Again, that is in Z domain, that is means it is in digital domain. So that is given by 0.1 times 2 plus Z inverse plus Z inverse Z raised to power minus 3 minus 2 into Z raised to power minus 4. And this implementation is done through the difference equation, as you can see in equation number 4, that is P and T is equal to 1 by T 1 by 8, because here we are using you can see 8 total samples, so 1 by 8, 2 y nt plus y nt minus t minus y nt minus 3t plus minus 2 y nt minus 4t. So that the derivative approximates the ideal derivative in the frequency range of 0 to 30 Hz, which is in the range of QRS complex. And it has a delay of 2 time units, or we can say 10 milliseconds in this case. Now the ECG signal after the band pass filtering and differentiation, as you can see in this figure. So observe the increase in peak to peak amplitude. You can see this increase in peak to peak amplitude of the QRS complex and the attenuation of both. You can see here the attenuation of both P and T waves. Now the next operation is squaring. Squaring of the values of P and T, that is after differentiation. So which is basically a non-linear operation that makes all the data points in the process signal positive. That is the basic function of square. If you are doing a squaring, that means the resultant will be always positive. So it emphasizes the high frequency components of the signal that are mainly due to the QRS complex. So the squared sequence, we are describing that by Sn of the band pass filtered and differentiated ECG waveform, as you can see in this figure. This is the squared output. So the process of determining the QRS width has to be further refined before its actual measurement can be affected. So it is because The slope of R wave alone will not permit any unambiguous detection of the occurrence of QRS complex. For instance, many abnormal QRS complexes that have large amplitudes and slow changing slopes might not be detected by using the first derivative of the R wave alone. So, more information from the ECG waveform is required for the detection of QRS event. And one method of doing is using moving window integration, which is, you can say it is defined by this equation number 5. So this algorithm performs smoothing of the output of the preceding operations through a moving window integration filter. That is, you can see in equation number 5. That is ZNT is equal to 1 by N whole summation M is equal to 1 to N S, that is output of squared operator, NT minus in bracket M minus 1 into capital T. So here capital N is the number of samples in the width of the moving window. So the choice of window width N is to be made with the following considerations. Too large, if we choose a value which is too large, then the output which is due to the QRS complexes and the T waves, they will merge. And if we choose a value that is too small, that could yield several peaks for a single QRS complex. So we have to choose the window length accordingly. And when we have chosen the sampling time of 200 hertz, or we can say sampling frequency of 200 hertz, then a window width of n equal to 30 was found suitable. Now, let's look at the waveform which is obtained after moving average integration. You can see in this. So this is output Zn, which was the final output of a high-speed QRS detection algorithm. So this is the actual output. And also we can see another example showing the input and output waveforms. So this first, or I can say the A, that is showing an unfiltered ECG signal. Then we have the output of a bandpass filter. Further, we have done differentiation and squaring. You can notice that all the waves that move into a positive side, and then we have used the moving window integration to produce a moving averaged output. Now, the next thing which requires this is a thresholding operation, because we have means we are basically, why we are using thresholding, because there can be multiple peaks as we have seen in the last. So actually sometimes when there is not a peak, that also being detected as a QRS complex. So we have to choose a particular threshold to check whether that is a peak due to signal or noise. So for this, we are adopting a thresholding procedure to find the changes in the ECG signal by computing running estimates of the signal and noise peaks. A peak is said to be detected whenever the final output changes direction with a specified interval. To reduce the possibility of wrongly selecting a noise peak as a QRS complex, we are choosing two thresholds, threshold 1 and 2, which are chosen to categorize peaks detected as signal QRS complexes or the noise. They are applied to the output of the moving average integrator, and they are defined by the equations as you can see. Threshold 1, equation number 6, NPK1, that is noise peak level 1, plus 0.25 whole times SPK1 minus NPK1, and threshold 2 is given as 0.5 times of threshold 1. So as I mentioned here, NPK1 is a running estimate of the noise peak, and SPK1 is the running estimate of the signal peak. Now, the threshold and we can say signal and noise levels are automatically updated when we detect a new peak based on its classification, whether it is a signal or a noise peak. So you can see in these two equations how we can update that new peak levels to from the old one. So SPK1 new is given by 0.125 peak 1 if it is a signal peak plus 0.875 SPKI old value. Similarly, if it is a noise peak, that peak 1 will be the noise peak. So it is 0.125 peak 1 plus 0.875 NPK1, which was the old value. So peak 1 is the new peak found in the integrated signal. So we'll choose whether we have to update the signal peak level or we have to update the noise peak level, depending upon whether that peak 1 which is detected is a signal peak or a noise peak. Now at the beginning of the QRS detection, a 2-second learning phase is needed to initialize SPK1 and NPK1 as a percentage of the maximum and average amplitude of the integrated signal respectively. If a new peak 1 is under the threshold 1, then the noise level is updated. And if peak 1 is above the threshold 1, the algorithm implements a further check before confirming the peak as a true QRS, taking into consideration the information provided by the band pass filtered signal. Signal peaks are those of the QRS complex, while noise peaks are those of the T waves, muscle noise, etc. A peak is detected by the signal changing direction within a certain time interval. So here SPK1 represents the peak of the QRS complex, while NPK1 refers to any other peak which is not related to QRS complex. Now the thresholds are adaptable as we have seen, and they are calculated from the previous peaks and they adapt to changes in the ECG signal from a particular person. These thresholds are applied to the output after the moving window integrator, and you can see the threshold output, whether and when it will be detected as a QRS complex and or you can say as a noise peak. We will see one more example. So first figure, you can see it shows the trace of the ECG signal. Then a bandpass filter is applied to increase the signal to noise ratio, and a filter bandwidth of 5 to 15 Hz is suggested to maximize the QRS contribute and reduce the muscle noise, baseline wander, power line interference, and the P or T wave frequency content. Then the next is you can see is the derivative operator, which suppress further the P and T waves and provides a large output at the QRS locations. Then we have is the squared output, and it enhances the large values and also boosts high frequency components like QRS complexes. And the result, if you see, it still have multiple peaks. You can see here we have multiple peaks, so it needs smoothing or we can say integration. So the final output of the integrator is a single smooth pulse for each QRS. It is showing 100 times the actual integrand output. So there will be the shift between the actual QRS and the pulse output due to cumulative delays of the various filters. So this was all in this lecture. Again, we have taken many of the diagrams, figures from the book by D.C. Reddy, which is Biomedical Signal Processing Principles and Techniques by Tata McGraw-Hill. So thank you so much.